Hi, my name is Leah Vang, and today I will be discussing the effects of divorce on children. As a child who comes from divorced parents, I do have firsthand experience on the physical, mental, and emotional states of how divorce has affected me. Everyone that I met has parents who are still together, and that's something that I could never relate to others about. I've become jealous of those whose parents are still together because that's something that I've always craved for. As a child who comes from a broken family, it's hard to adjust to changes so suddenly, but that doesn't mean I can't learn from these hurtful memories that I now call as lessons to better my future. Today I will be discussing how divorce disrupts ties across generations, how it causes social consequences towards children, and how divorce can affect children's mental state positively and negatively. So for my first main point, I will be discussing how divorce disrupts ties across generations. According to the social scientific data on the impact of marriage and divorce on children, divorce can disrupt bondful relationship ties and leave many older people without relatives to care for them. Children who are torn from their parents' decision on divorce can grow distant from relatives on either side of the mother and father's family and leave their older relatives without care. Not only will it disrupt kinship ties from older relatives, but it also disrupts the child-parent relationship. The majority of children reported the loss of involvement of the non-resident parent was the most negative aspect of the divorce. In most ideal divorce households, mothers take custody of the children while fathers are living their own life. Without having that father figure in their lives, children can develop anger issues. With the lack of child and parent bond, parents who divorce may have more difficulty in their relationships with the children because marital discord may distract parents as well as cause them to be preoccupied and less emotionally available for the children. Divorce can cause parents to distance themselves from the children because of how straining the divorce process can be, and it can influence children to become more independent of themselves, push themselves away from their parents, and can cause children to develop unacceptable behaviors. The effects of divorce not only affect children's connections with blood relatives, but divorce on children can influence social consequences upon them. When people are not members of a family, social control and the provision of care are more difficult. Stepfamilies cannot control children who are not their own, meaning not their biological child. With this difficulty coming into play with disciplining stepchildren, stepparents may not have the same parenting style. So if one parent decides to discipline the child differently from the other parent, it can become very difficult. As for the children, they might act out of spite and have a certain mindset that their step-parents are nothing compared to their biological parents. With the social consequences, negative changes in each parent's relationship with the child was more predictive of greater externalizing and internalizing problems in young children. The relationship between children and their parents is noticeable because of how the child acts. With this toxic relationship, children can develop symptoms such as aggression, hostility, and antisocial behavior, anxiety, depression, and even somatization upon themselves. According to Saul Rappaport in Destructing the Impact of Divorce in Children, he stated, children whose parents divorce are at an increased risk of problematic behaviors. When children are experiencing divorce from their parents, they're more likely to get the axe from their parents, meaning children take the beating physically and mentally from the parents who are going through the divorce process. Children who experience divorce upon their parents have gained not only negative aspects, but also some positive aspects as to how divorce influenced them. Children who endured high marital conflict and divorce report more positive outcomes than to children who experience high marital conflict but no divorce. Children who experience divorce and were able to endure high marital conflicts were able to seek happiness even though their parents are separated, and it shows how strong children can be, even if they have no one to turn to. According to Hyung-Si Kim in Consequences of Parental Divorce of Child Development, children of divorce were more likely to show a relative decline in forming and maintaining friendships, expressing feelings, ideas, and opinions in positive ways. Children of divorce were more likely to stay alone rather than to create friendships with their peers. The reason for this behavior is because they're scared of their bond. They're scared that their bond with their peers may someday break. For example, children who have parents that are separated may feel that their peers will also separate from them, so they're afraid of that outcome. They choose to be alone because no one can hurt them. Any more than the people who have hurt them first, which was their parents. Going along to the positive and negative aspects to divorce, parents' depressive features impact children, and fathers' behaviors impact them as well. Both parents' depressive and behavioral features can negatively impact their children because it can cause them to lash out and put the blame on their innocent children. With this shame calling and acting out of anger from the children's biological parents, it can easily influence the children and make it seem like it's okay to lash out at others. In conclusion, children are not meant to go through situations as to where they feel torn apart from their own family. They should be able to feel love, happiness, and watch everyone grow to become independent and successful. Children are too young to understand why their parents can no longer stay together since they have their own side of the story. With the separation from their parents, children can grow distant from blood relatives, especially from fathers, and can cause social consequences such as developing behavioral issues. But on the bright side, children who grew up with divorced parents can understand the reason for their parents' separation and will want to prevent filing a divorce with their future significant other. I hope you guys have gained some information about how divorce affects children and why it's important to be aware of the issue. Thank you.